The solution is a radio station, a broadcasting station, a frequency transmitter of ideas, perspectives, principles. The date is October 24th, 2025. The time is 7:11 p.m. My location is 525 5th Street, San Francisco. And I feel it is important to share that we are not allowed to record in this homeless shelter known as MSC South. But at the same time, it is important to acknowledge the cord that ties us together, and that is the will to be honest, the will to speak out. And I think it is important that there are transmissions, there are voices, there are expressions. No matter what conditions we face, we are all facing incredible conditions where there is so much assistance that is needed on so many different levels, and yet it is often never given to the people. I would like to share that, well, sometimes you are threatened, even in this facility, for talking to the people in honesty, in love, compassion, and how there can be a different system where we don't have to be slaves, a system where we can have rights to speak out without being threatened to go on the streets. And so I feel like some people say, oh no, you have to work hard to get a place, and then you will feel you will have security. And my realization is that the security of this system is not secure in its own principles. This homeless shelter you see before you is only part of it. And there's a part of the homeless shelter that I would say at its core fears the acknowledgement of interacting with people at the top of the bottom and the top of the top. And I feel like, what does that mean? I think there's something deeper. Fear of becoming what we would wish certain people at the very top of our system to become for us. Can we become that? And then there's leaders at the bottom of this system. And those leaders are needed as well. But what does it mean to lead? And I feel like there's like a whole list of things, right, that we can come up with that aren't, things that are inhumane, that are probably classified as legal torture. In our society, there are many forms of legal torture that go on every day in different societies, in different cultures, masqueraded, camouflaged. And I feel like what I would like to see on my feed, my algorithm, my social network platform, is content information about how we can unite, how we can use online and in-person, local and international platforms, which is kind of like the online world is an international platform. But I would like to share that we need a system of integrity, of accountability that records what is happening and is not hidden from the people. And our ability to record right now with certain technology is the stepping stone for expressing what we think is not right. And in this system you see before you, it doesn't acknowledge that there is a system in us that is equal to the collective. And what does that mean? One person is just as important as everyone. But anyways, I would like to say something. There is a need for us to build a network. Whoever is listening to this, I am going to try at 12 p.m. every day to be online and in person. And oftentimes I don't make it in person to the stage, the platform, the local one. But I end up usually going there. It's the main library in my city where I share with people a document. And I've been sharing people these QR codes tied to a tradition that honors the world outside of us is also a reflection of the world inside of us. But that statement is not always true. And it's important for us to discern those moments. But for nevertheless, food, shelter, clothing, money, a sense of belonging, a sense of connection with the others who may be hidden, but nevertheless have a gift that has an ability to shift the slavery that is in our system, is the key. So for some of us, it's our voice. For some of it's painting. For some of it's us, it's inventing. For some of us, it's just, how shall we say? It's experimenting with what we want and don't want. And so I feel what more people want are people to speak plainly about our system that isn't working. I've been in a homeless shelter. It's coming up on 3 years because I feel like there is something for me to deal with at the very bottom of the system. And it is to help expose to you what is happening. And I've reached out to the director. I've reached out to the mayor. I've reached out to higher ups. Have you ever reached out to the president? That doesn't really matter right now. But it's an important principle, right? But nevertheless, there is a small group of people that want more and more money. There's also an ego, a selfish part of a lot of human beings, which I have. Addictions, drugs, killing in video games, pornography. But at the same time, these can be used as alchemical stepping stones to reveal the abuses that sometimes reinforce these conditions. And the conditions that we go through in society often reinforce this idea that we don't have the right to use our voice, we don't have the right to exist, we don't have the ability to lead ideas that redistribute the resources of this world fairly, that is able to, how shall we say, speak out, that the religion, the government, the science of the future comes from a balanced mind with the heart, masculine balancing feminine. And the masculine and feminine of our time period is the ability to take our circumstances and try to share something that exposes something that we may not have seen. But there's often this television right here. It's always on, usually always on, and it cancels out a lot of energy, vibration, and desires for people to talk with each other. A lot of people are on their phone and stuff, swiping. But anyways, 10 minutes. But should this just go for TikTok? Should it go for YouTube? Should it go for Facebook? Should it go for Discord? Should it go for our own journal, website, network, organization, movement, family, non-family, friends, relatives? Who should this video go to? Why not the whole world, and then let the people disagree or reject or silence or censor or kill the person that's trying to speak? And let the person who's trying to speak, I guess, allow them to react how they wish to react to however the world reacts. I'm not even supposed to be doing this right now. They can kick you out to the streets if, you're recording. But it's just a sign of the fear of the system, and where there is leverage for a different system waiting to burst through. But it takes people willing to defy the status quo, the norm, the routine, the hamster wheel, but yet still have principles that maybe is a regular job, having a family, having a house, a car, traveling. But at the same time, there are prices to be paid with these things if we are not creating our own job, our own sense of family with the people who are around us, no matter their culture, their background. And yet they may try to kill us, or psychologically, or whatever. But those in the end are all stepping stones that we can use to help us see that we cannot die. And yet we all need certain assistance on a material, financial level, which will require the creative ingenuity of our story and our experiences blended together. You're welcome to join my Discord. You're welcome to join, how shall we say, my movement to show up in my local society in a leadership area, the main library where I am. But you can do it next to your city hall and hand out a public statement document, which is tied to this thing right here. And if you want to take a screenshot, you can. But it's tied to the Egyptian lineage in the sense that the principles of Egypt, the original ancient Egypt, not the reformed Egypt, based on the use of force by the pharaohs, sometimes the queen, Cleopatra, I believe, was one of them. But anyways, I've pretty much shared what I wanted to share. There's definitely more that I would like to share, but for now, I would like to say that many of us in here and outside of here, need help. And I think the strongest help we can give is trying to express and record our ideas, even if they're not like really nicely put together. There's a need to create outlets, networks, broadcasting stations that remind the world in some way that there's got to be a better system to this. And people say, oh, you can just work hard and have a job. But the thing is, there's another system within the job that often requires great compromise. There are some ways that some people are able to make it doing their creative, spiritual, scientific passion. But regardless, there is a need for people to reveal that there is something way more than what we have. And by people speaking out through the technology and through in person, I'm speaking out in person, but other people can't hear me necessarily because the sound room is so distorted by multiple intentions. It seems to me that, well, the main form of leadership is being able to find a way to chord what we are going through to, how shall I say, something that is better than this. Something that allows us to not all face a television, but to face each other. To stand for something together. Not just us all do our own independent thing and expect to live in this system that doesn't want us to live. But you can work the system, but it takes consistency, vigilance, determination, rigor, and for some people they just don't have what it takes. And for me, being at the bottom, I feel like in a way you could say I was not prepared, but in another way you could say my purpose is different. And it seems the system doesn't want to help us acknowledge that, which is why we're going to have to do it ourselves. We're going to create the laws. We're going to create the government. We're going to create the new ideas that honor the laws of the heart and the mind balanced together, the masculine and feminine balanced together. That's all I really have to say. And if the leaders at the bottom and the leaders at the top are not able to be reached, that means there is a need to reach the leader within ourselves and find a way to express that so others can see that they can express the leader within themselves. What is the leader? The one who exposes the elite and the ego are always the forces creating poverty, war, disease, environmental disaster, competition, survival of the fittest, us versus them, good versus evil, rich versus poor, beautiful versus ugly, intelligent versus dumb. All these things are illusions. And so with that being said, I want to save face and let you know I would like to do this more often, but I often rarely ever motivate myself to, because there's lots of other things that I did not talk about. A lot of people don't talk upstairs where we sleep or where we express our leisure time, because there's so many conflicting things. But maybe there's a solution we can create together. And you're welcome to join the Discord, which I would try to be at 12 p.m. every day, alongside my local area. But I rarely ever meet the deadline of 12 p.m. because I feel like I need to have a foundation that honors the sunrise and the sunset, a space that honors the cycles of our nature. I'm speaking symbolically a little bit. A tradition where we honor the principle, the spirit, and the essence of the sun within ourselves and outside of ourselves, for they are one. With that being said, I am done.